Okay, yes. Yeah, good evening all. So myself, I'm Vijay. Like I hold 20 plus years of experience in different technologies, right? So before I start, can anyone please confirm whether my voice is clear, whether the screen is visible or not, right? Yes.
Yes, your voice is clear.
And thank you. Like
Thank you.
as part as part of today's demo, I'll be covering the following things. If you've got any general queries, I'll be giving time for you at the end of the session, right? And at the end of the session, I'll be briefing you about all this course content and how the training level it goes. Why why a data engineer? Why a data engineer, right? If we go back like 10 to 15 years like back, we won't see any kind of data engineer. We used to say like ETL developer. So why data engineer? What are the roles of as a data engineer? Role of a data engineer. And also most of them will be asking difference between, so differences between, right? So what are the responsibilities between data engineer, right? Data engineer, data scientist, data analyst. Azure data engineering products. Various data Azure data engineering products, right? Job market. Job market of Azure data engineer. So this is what I'll be discussing, right? Yes. So this is a cloud environment. So cloud is majorly utilized. It's majorly utilized, right? Yes. For storing, analyzing, and delivering the data in various forms. So cloud is majorly utilized for storing, analyzing, and delivering data in various forms. So data engineers with the help of cloud services, right? They work on the data, and make it structured and useful. So data engineers with the help of cloud services working on the data and make it structured and useful. Data engineers are responsible for smooth data flow, from the source to destination. Yes. So before I go, let's see advantages of the cloud over this on-premises. Advantages of cloud over the on-premises. Advantages of cloud over the on-premises. If we talk about this on-premises, we need to set up our own hardware infrastructure. On top of that, OS installation, right? And purchasing database license. Purchasing database license. Installation of database server. Yes. Purchasing database license, installation of database server, and finally designing database objects. But for performing all this, right, to maintain all this, we require separate teams. We require separate teams. For example, hardware team is required. Operating system team. Network team. Networking team is required. Security team is required. Database administrators. So hardware team, operating system team, networking team, security team, database administrators, right? So this many are required. Hardware team, operating system team, networking team, security team, and database administrators. But in the case of cloud, but here everything in cloud. Everything in cloud. Everything in cloud. We don't need to maintain all this. We don't need to maintain all this. No need to maintain any life. No need to maintain any infrastructure. No need of any licenses. Everything in the cloud environment. Yes, everything in the cloud environment. So here, data engineers, just now I was talking, right? Data engineers responsible for smooth data flow from the source to destination. The help of these cloud services, they work on the data and make the data structured and useful. Yes. So difference between this, okay. So data engineer is responsible for smooth data flow, all right, from the source to the destination. Data engineer responsible for preparing the data, is responsible for preparing data, cleansing the data. There is nothing like filtering data, transforming the data. Yes. Yes, transforming the data, processing data, right. Data engineer is responsible in this preparing, cleansing, transforming, and processing of data. On the other side, like if we talk data scientist and data analyst. Data scientist in a simple way is going strategizes, for the future, right? And data analyst summarizes the past. So data scientist is going to analyze the data. It's going to analyze the data, identify the patterns, identify the key patterns, Recommendations for the future. Recommendations. Data analyst summarizes the past. Need to analyze the data. Analyze the data. Summarize the data of the past. Visualizing the data. Here if you say data engineer, data engineer, data management, it does that data management, data storage plus processing. Data storage and data processing. Data scientist. Let's say data scientist. Data analysis. Performs like data analysis. It's not for data analysis or if you talk like data predictions or for data classifications. Recommendations. For analysis, predictions, classifications, data recommendations, or if you say like data clustering. So here data engineer, data management, data storage, and data processing. Data analyst summarizes the past, visualizing the data. So if you observe here for the data scientist, data engineer, does all the groundwork for data scientist and analyst. More than, if you talk more than like 70% of data analysis. Data engineers. Means all the groundwork of a data scientist analyst is done by data engineer, right? Bringing the data, processing the data, preparing, filtering, all these things, right? Yes. So here data engineering involves firstly, what are the sources of the data, from where you need to bring the data from? Secondly, format of the data. What is the format of the data? How to transform the data? And what is the destination of the data, target? What is the destination of the data? That is what? Target. Yes. So this is what difference between a data engineer, data scientist, analyst, right? Data engineer perform this preparing, cleansing, transforming, processing the data. Data scientist doing that recommendations for the future. Analyst like summarizing the past and visualizing the data. So why Azure data engineer? or why data engineer in demand today? Why Azure data engineer in demand today? Right. So yes, before I go with the roles of this Azure data engineer, right? For example, why Azure data engineer in demand? Okay. If you take any organization, if I am taking an organization, right? Yes. Organization wants to increase the business revenue by utilizing the customer behavioral data on its website. So the organization is using Azure for its operation. So it is going to hire two people. It is going to hire two people, right? One is a data scientist and Azure data engineer. Azure data, he's going to hire two data scientist and Azure data engineer. Data engineer, firstly, the Azure data engineer creates a data warehouse, is going to create a data warehouse for the organization. A data warehouse is a storage of structured and queryable data, means it contains data from various sources such as new user logs, new user clicks, right? It contains data from various resources like customer data. Data engineer structures all this data, stores it, and monitors it in the data warehouse. Azure data engineer creating a data warehouse for the organization and is going to pull the data from various sources and is going to structure the data, store it, and monitor it in the data warehouse. Secondly, Azure data engineer communicates with the data scientist. Is going to communicate with the data scientist to understand the data requirement. To understand the data, he also communicates with the business team to know the business requirement of the organization. Yes. Azure data engineer communicates with the data scientist, right? Yes. To understand the data requirement and also communicating with the business team, right? To know the business requirements of the organization. This Azure data engineer has to keep in mind the business needs when dealing with the data in hand. Data scientists later they are going to analyze and are going to create some insights from the processed data of this data engineer. And the business team they require some dashboard tools for visualizing of the key insights, right? It helps the team read the data insights easily. So here data engineer constantly is going to process, is going to analyze, and is going to monitor the data. Constantly processing, analyzing, and monitoring the data. He creates a data pipeline. He's going to create a data pipeline through which the data is integrated with all the crucial stages of the data flow. He also makes sure that the pipelines are created. The pipeline is always efficient and secure without any data leaks. So this is the primary responsibility of the Azure data engineer professional, right? Yes. So yes, the main thing is creating a data warehouse, right? For storing this data. Now the various other responsibilities check with this, right? Role of Azure data engineer. Role of Azure data engineer. Designing the entire data flow architecture. Designing the entire data flow architecture. Secondly, creating a data warehouse. creating a data warehouse. Creating data warehouse, right? Yes, sir. For storing this analytical data. Yes. So this creating data warehouse, it makes fast and easy to query the data for analysis, right? And thirdly, ETL is going to perform ETL. Azure Data Engineer is going to ETL, extract, transform, load. ETL is the one of the key tasks of Azure Data Engineer. They need to extract the data. They need to extract the data from multiple sources, transform it into structured and queryable form, that is queryable data. Then then later they need to load this data into this company's storage service for the further business evaluation by the data scientist. So here the key task of Azure Data Engineer is ETL, right? Loading the data into the company's storage service and right, and also like data monitoring. Data monitoring, make sure that the ETL is performed in a proper way and the data is available in everywhere, right? It is required. And also like data security. Data security is also one of the major responsibility of data engineers, right? The data needs to be secure at each step of the process without any data leaks or data exposures. Collaboration and communication. They have to constantly communicate with the business team to check that data, the requirement of the data, and also collaboration with the data scientist to check to deliver the data as per the requirement or as per the needs, right? Yes. Analytics. Data engineers analyze the data and transform it into analytics, right? So data engineers, they are going to analyze the data and transform it into structured and useful format. So they need to have some strong analytical knowledge to perform this kind of analysis. Automation. Certain process has to be automated, which requires a minimum human intervention, right? Such as extraction process. Right. So mainly designing the entire data flow architecture, creating data warehouse. ETL is the extract, transform, and load. ETL is one of the key tasks of this Azure Data Engineer. This pulling the data or getting the data from different sources and storing it into this company storage service, and also data monitoring at each step, right? Where data is available, wherever it's required. Data security, see that there is no data leaks. Collaborating and communicating with the data scientist and this business team, right? And also analytics, you need to have some strong analytical skills for performing this kind of analysis. And also some process has to be automated, which requires this minimum human intervention. And also, yes, so these are the role of Azure Data Engineer. Now coming to this Azure Data Engineering products. Various Azure Data Engineering products or services. Yes. The following are the various Azure Data Engineering products or services like Azure SQL, Azure Data Lake. So Azure SQL for creating, storing in the form of tables, storing in the form of table. Azure Data Lake in a simple way, storing files, different formats of Azure Synapse, Azure Synapse Analytics for data warehousing operations and for big data operations, right? Azure Data Factory. Azure Data Factory in a simple way, right? ADF, zero coding ETL. It is a cloud-based ETL. Azure Databricks, Azure Cosmos DB, Azure Cosmos DB is a kind of NoSQL cloud, NoSQL, like cloud-based NoSQL. Azure Streaming, Azure Key Vault. Yes, sir. Yeah, Vijay Gardeshwar, right? Yes, I'm coming to it. Okay. So I said already, like a data engineer, right? It's Azure Data Engineer, one is the very demanding technology right today. And also like, okay, I'll come back to it. Azure Streaming, Azure Key Vault. Okay. Azure SQL, Azure Data Lake, Azure Synapse Analytics, Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, Azure Cosmos DB, Azure Streaming, Azure Key Vault. So just about these products, just I'll give one line description what they are. Azure SQL. Azure SQL, it's a cloud RDBMS. Cloud RDBMS database management systems of Microsoft in Azure. Right. Simply, I can say it's a cloud RDBMS of Microsoft in Azure. Secondly, like Azure Data Lake. It is a distributed file system. It is a distributed file system. With unlimited data storage. Unlimited data storage. We talk about HDFS in the case of on-premises, Azure Data Lake and Cloud DFS. The repository of large varieties of structured, unstructured, structured, unstructured, and semi-structured. It is a repository of large varieties of structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. Yes. Azure Data Factory. Azure Data Factory, right? Yes. In a simple way, it is a cloud-based area. It's a cloud-based ETL. Previously, we have got the ETL tools like Informatica, these things, right? But here It is a cloud-based ETL of Microsoft in Azure. It is a data integration service which so raw data coming from one side, process data coming from other side, right? ADF, it will combine the data from multiple sources, reformat it into analytical models, save these models for querying, visualizing, and reporting. Okay. It is a cloud-based ETL of Microsoft. So taking data from different sources like sensors, IoT, logs, media, different files, business applications, custom applications. ADF is going to pull the data, stores in the data lake or in Azure SQL, right? Preparing the data by using Databricks and later performing querying, visualizing, right? And reporting. Azure Databricks. Azure Databricks, right? It's one of it is Apache Spark based Apache Spark based data analytics platform. It is an Apache Spark based data analytics platform. It brings together data science, data engineer, data engineering, right? And business together. Synapse, Azure Synapse Analytics. Azure Synapse. For data warehouse operations, for data warehouse operations, big data operations, for batch processing, batch, batch applications, user non-interactive applications, we say, and for parallel processing. Azure Streaming Analytics. Azure Streaming Analytics. For analyzing and processing high volumes of streaming data. What do you mean by streaming data? Streaming data means data which keeps on incrementing. The data which keeps on generating, data which keeps on incrementing, such kind of data we call it as streaming data. That too from multiple sources. From multiple sources simultaneously. For analyzing and processing high volumes of streaming data from multiple sources simultaneously. Azure Cosmos DB. Simply, I can say like cloud-based NoSQL database. Cloud-based NoSQL database. Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault. Secure key management. Secure key management. To protect data in the cloud. To protect the data in the secure key management is essential to protect the data in the cloud. Okay. So these are the main Azure data engineering products or services, right? Azure SQL for storing, there is a cloud RDBMS, Azure Data Lake. Azure Data Lake is a kind of file system. It can store all formats of files, unlimited data storage, right? Azure Synapse Analytics for big data operations, for data warehouse operations, for batch processing, for parallel processing. Azure Data Factory. Azure Data Factory in a simple way, right? Cloud-based ETL, extracting, transforming, and loading. Azure Data Bricks in a simple way, right? Apache Spark-based data analytics platform. Azure Cosmos DB, like a cloud-based NoSQL database. Azure Streaming, analyzing and processing high volumes of streaming data from the multiple sources simultaneously. And Azure Key Vault, protecting the data in the cloud. Yes, this is what I'll be discussing, right? Yeah, 1 second. Let me show you the code. So main discussion will be Azure data engineering, right? In this ADE course. So yes, what I'm going to discuss in this Azure Data Factory. The main discussion, Azure Data Factory. ADF. Around 35 days to 40 days, I'll be discussing on this Azure Data Factory. It is a zero coding ETL. No coding is involved. Zero coding, everything drag and drop. Next, secondly, Azure Databricks. Azure Databricks, ADB, and with a combination with PySpark. PySpark is one of the most popular, right, technology in the market. So it has got great boom. It's a hot cake in the market. So Azure Databricks with PySpark, right? I'm going to discuss Azure Databricks with PySpark. So if we compare with other training sites, right? I'm going to discuss PySpark in brief. Because here you need to have some the prerequisites like basic Python knowledge you need to know. Here Azure Databricks in this you need to know some basic Python. Yes. Before I go with the actual practical part, I'll be just briefing you with the Python syntaxes. The Python syntax is not that much complex, right? And Azure Synapse Analytics. Azure Synapse Analytics. Okay. So mainly these for Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, PySpark, Azure Synapse Analytics. But as a ADF developer, as a Databricks developer, as Azure Data Engineer, you'll be interacting with this Azure SQL, Azure Data Lake, Azure Cosmos, Azure Streaming, right? And Azure Key Vault. Apart from this Azure Data Factory, Databricks, and you'll also be getting knowledge on this. Plus Azure SQL, Azure Data Lake Storage, Azure Data Lake Storage, we say ADLS, Azure Data Lake Storage, Azure Cosmos DB, Azure streaming, right? So main discussion will be this Azure Data Factory, Databricks, but you will also be getting knowledge on this Azure SQL, data lake storage, where this interaction, the input, output, everything will be storing in this Azure SQL, Azure Data Lake, Azure Cosmos, right? Yes. Okay. So yes, uh, offerings from my side, right? So you'll be getting every day. You'll be every day you'll be getting the session video, right? Okay, session video on daily basis. Soft copy of this class notes. Soft copy, clear soft copy of the class notes, right? A WhatsApp group for technical discussions, right? Or if you get any error, you can take the snap of it and post in the WhatsApp. And assignments and tasks to work. So everything will be practical oriented. There is nothing. So here, it's a hands-on interactive sessions. So if you can do parallelly along with me, this pipelines creations, data flow creations, this execution of these pipelines, everything. Hands-on interactive sessions, right? You can do the practicals parallel along with me. If any errors, you can share your screen, right? All the sessions will be interactive. At any point of time during the session, you can unmute. So generally, whatever I'm doing, right, everything you people will be responding, right? The steps involved in that. Yes. Assumes and interview questions. Okay, so you'll be getting each and every session video that day itself, soft copy of the class notes, a WhatsApp group, assignments and tasks to work with, hands-on interactive sessions, and resumes and interview questions. Right? Yes, fine. So the
Hello.
timing, just give me 2 minutes. I'll come back to your queries.
Sure.
Same, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. IST, right? Timing of this will be 6 p.m. IST. Same timing day. Okay, fine. So tomorrow also you can attend the session same timing, like same time at 6 p.m. using the same link to see more discussion, right? But before that, you can check this course content, right? Overview of what all the Azure services, right? Databricks, Data Factory, Azure SQL, Key Vault, Synapse, Cosmos DB. The major discussion, like first starting with Azure Data Factory. So here, let me just a second. I didn't. So here, the duration of this 3 months for this. Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, PySpark, and it's around 3 months, 2 3 months it takes. Yes. Now, Azure Data Factory. What is Azure Data Factory, right? And Azure Data Factory architecture, it's a portal UI, top level components like pipelines, activities, data set, linked service, triggers, data flows, pipelines. What is pipeline? Organizing pipelines, publishing the pipeline, debugging the pipelines, pipeline parameters, linked service, like creating linked service for this SQL database, SQL server. Yes, data sets. What is creating data sets for different file formats? Avro file, binary file, CSV file, Excel file, JSON file, ORC file, XML files, activities, weight, activity variables, copy data activity, different types of activities. Okay, Azure function, lookup, get metadata, execute validation for each activity, filter activity, if condition activity, switch until, and triggers, storage-based trigger, schedule-based triggers, tumbling window trigger, event-based triggers, right? Different types of triggers, integration runtime, auto integration runtime, self-hosted, and right, and source control, right? ARM templates, importing and exporting them, right? Global parameters, managing private endpoints, monitoring ADF jobs, and data flows. Data flow is that one of that feature which got in ADF version 2. Mapping data flow debug, transformations, filter aggregations, conditional splitter, derived column, different types of inbuilt transformations, group by, pivot, unpivot, flatten, parse, stringify, filter, sort, validating the schema, removing duplicate rows, slowly changing dimensions, right? So SED type 1, type 2, and nearly like 50 exercises I'm going to discuss, right? Yes. Copy activity, and these are the various tasks I'm going to discuss during the course, around 50. Yes. There's everything practical oriented, nothing theory. Yes, just now someone was asking, right? Yes. Um, 1 second, 1 second. Some query was asked. Yes, Gautam Kumar, right? Running. See, everything will be practical oriented. You need to have the practical exposure, right? So you'll be getting clear notes for this certification. This course is enough for this certification. Azure Databricks, what is so before I go with Databricks, some prerequisites, whatever required, I'm going to discuss. We might be having, or you might be having the knowledge on this big data environment and big data Hadoop, and like Spark, and this prerequisites like big data Hadoop, Spark, and like introduction to this Azure, as introduction to the Azure Databricks architecture, Databricks main concepts like creating Azure Databricks service, adding users in groups. 1 second. Databricks service using Azure CLI command line interface. Databricks service using Azure Resource Manager ARM. Adding users in groups to the workspace and creating a cluster, and creating a starting with notebooks. Databricks cluster management, displaying cluster, starting cluster, terminating cluster, deleting a cluster, cluster logs, cluster information, cluster access controls, types of clusters, different types, all purpose job cluster, Databricks pools, Databricks without pools, with pools, Databricks cluster mode, standard, high concurrency. Yes. And auto scaling, Databricks runtime versions, multi-user clusters, credential utility, data utility, file system utility, job utility, library utility, secret widgets, Databricks integration with Blob, Databricks integration with Azure SQL, with Synapse, and working with different types file formats like CSV data, JSON data, Parquet files, Excel files, XML file data, ORC file, Avro files, and batch processing. Right here, I'll be discussing about the PySpark in brief about this everything implementation in PySpark, right? So historical data load, incremental data load, date transformations, aggregations, join, window functions, all this execution by using Spark. Databricks streaming API, process of streaming using PySpark API, handling bad records, streaming data with Gen2 Lake, Databricks Lakehouse, Delta Lake, features of Delta Lake, how to get Delta Lake, DML operations, merge operations, handling data duplications, handling streaming data in Delta Lake. Workflows in Databricks, introduction to workflows, run and manage Databricks jobs, schedule Databricks jobs, monitor Databricks jobs. Azure Synapse, overview of pools, Azure Synapse Analytics querying data lake, storage account integration with Azure Synapse triggers, Azure SQL database integration with Azure Synapse, incremental loading, logging and notifications, deep dive into copy activity, data flow introduction about all these different types of transformations, data flow, selecting rows, filtering, join, union, lookup, window, alter row, SCD types, Spark pools, introduction to this Azure Synapse, right? Magic commands, MS Spark utils, right? Configuring the key vault, different ways to connect to ADLS, different ways to connect with the blob, connecting to Azure SQL, different ways to connect with the on-premise, optimizing, reading and writing Parquet files, JSON files, Avro files, Excel files, way to create RTDs in the Synapse notebook, different ways to create data frames, right? Optimization techniques, implementing ACD type 1, type 2, right? And executing Synapse notebook from Synapse. So this is what, in brief, we'll be discussing about all these things. So as I said, these things. Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, PySpark, and Synapse. So overall, the prerequisite will be like basic Python, basic SQL knowledge is enough, right? Yeah, yeah. Someone was asking, yeah, some queries. You can unmute and you can ask your queries. This is course.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, go ahead.
What would be included in SQL?
Where is it?
Hello?
No. You're talking about which component here?
SQL. What should be included in SQL? Like
Azure
basic.
SQL, right, is a called Cloud RDBMS for storing the data in the form of tables. So
No. I'm asking like only the basic things or like
prerequisite basic SQL is enough.
okay,
Creating, inserting these things are enough. Not that right? Basic SQL.
okay. There are no joins and stored positions, right?
All this just the basic SQL knowledge, basic Python knowledge. Everything will be taken care of with the data factory and data bricks. So here
Okay.
it's non-code, here coding based. This is code based, this is non-code based. ADF is totally zero coding ETL. So everything will
Mm-hmm.
be dealing with this Spark. Total execution happens through Spark. Totally execution happening through Spark. In the entire thing, Spark execution, you can see, right? So that's what I was saying. Any prerequisites that I'll be discussing, right? Or like a big data, Hadoop, Spark, right? The prerequisites before I give that knowledge on that, before we go with practicals of this.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yes. Someone was asking query, right? Here is this query was asked. So I need to talk with you personally. Is this the course
Hadoop,
useful? Yes. Someone was
can I
asking.
can I ask question?
Yes, go ahead.
Actually, Hadoop is required for this Azure data engineering.
See, our Hadoop, see, just some, what is that architecture part? That is, we are not going to do anything with this Hadoop, right?
Okay, we are not doing any
Spark,
development.
Spark is that. Just
Okay.
how the Spark, and from that Hadoop we have taken some basic features that I'll be discussing. That master slave architecture.
Okay.
So about this technical aspects, right? Like Hadoop and Spark, what are that knowledge, everything will be. I said that this Spark I'll be discussing in brief, right? The entire thing, not a portion of it or part of it. Okay.
Vijay, I have a question. Like, I'm completely new to this domain. So you said we need to know about Python, SQL, right? Basics.
Yes.
Okay, that would be
Yeah.
enough, or is
See
it?
one more thing, right? First, I'll be starting with ADF. No prerequisites for this. Everything
Okay,
drag and drop, no coding. So it takes nearly 30 to 40 days. By the time, basic Python, you can update. You can update, right?
okay.
It means the next 30 to 40 days, I'll be my discussion will be on this.
So for that, you don't need any Python or SQL, right? For the first topic,
First topic, nothing. No, nothing is required.
30 days it will take, right?
35 to 40 days it takes.
Okay,
So by the time, okay, if you want, you can just update with basic Python.
right.
Okay.
Okay. And for starting from Databricks, we need to know about Python,
Now in
SQL, right?
the Databricks, right? Once we go with the practical part, you'll be seeing the basic Python codings.
Okay.
Not to that in depth of Python or bit, all those not required, just basic Python.
And you also said big data architecture we need to know, or is that something?
I'll be discussing those things.
Okay.
Those things, everything, right? First, I'll go with this before I go with this practical.
But core skill will be Python SQL. That basics should be enough, right?
Basic Python, basic SQL, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And one more question for it.
Yes.
Suppose if I want to go with the 4+ years of experience, this course should be enough for that one.
Yes, a typical 4+5+ years of experience, how much knowledge is to gain, that much knowledge you are going to get from this course. That's the, it's like around
Mhm.
around 3 months it is going to take, right? That's fine. It's not like a 1.5 month course. So I'm going, even if you can see the syllabus, right? The course content, it is truly, it's very brief with many working examples.
Everything is covered from scratch to advanced, right?
Yes, yes. And if people, I suggest you people, you can do parallelly along with me the practicals. That's what hands-on interactive sessions.
Okay. Okay.
Because you will come to know whenever you're doing means it's a data flow, right? The output of one will be the input to the next. The output of one will be the input to the next, right? You need to know what output you are going to get. Yes, as a
Mm.
data engineer.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
everything you will be responding. What will be the output? What will be the next one? What will be the output? What will be the next one? Right? In this way, we'll be going.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Okay, fine. Are you going to cover PySpark? Yes, yes, you got that right. Yes, I'm going to cover PySpark in detail, right? So if we can see, just 1 second. Notes, don't worry. And someone was asking about the notes, right? Yes. Not worry about this notes. Clear notes, everything for the freshers or anyone, right? For example, ADF notes. Okay, just check with this. Topic wise, or this everything will be clearly. I'll be forwarding you daily basis. This for every batch, I'll be maintaining the notes separately. This is ADF notes only. And for Databricks, so everything, what's that? ADB, ADB, PySpark combinedly, right? Both, you can see this PySpark computations, PySpark persistence, PySpark state centers, PySparks in Python syntaxes, if files, and this ADB introduction, Databricks, also Databricks introduction, right? Everything in a clear and neat form. You will be getting the notes, all this for this Azure Databricks. And both Databricks and PySpark both combinedly. Yes. So initially, first I'll be discussing about the PySpark fundamentals, everything, right? Yes. And this is, and also for Synapse. So you'll be getting all the notes. You'll be getting the videos for this, right? So you'll be getting the data sets for your practice, everything. Yes. Fine. So only one thing, attending the sessions regularly and interacting in the sessions, doing the practicals, right? Right. Getting the command in the entire this things data engineering side. Yes. Fine. Yeah, some other queries was 1 second. Yes, you get the right. Yes, PySpark from the scratch to the advanced, right? Rhythm, Krishnamurthy. Okay. Is this course useful for? Yes, Vinod Kumar, right? Anyone? There is no prerequisites. I said just a basic SQL, basic Python. Yes. If you see, it is one of the on demand. See, I forgot to say about this, right? 1 second. Job market. About this job market, right? Yes. See, if you see this Azure data engine, this Azure data engineering, it's one of the demanding tool today. Even if we can check in the Google the jobs for it, opportunities, and also the salary packages for it, 1.5 times more than the other technologies you can see. So according to the Microsoft, right, most of the companies are getting registered themselves on Azure. If you see 95% of the Fortune 500 companies, they're utilizing this Azure cloud services. They're increasing the number of job opportunities for Azure data engineers constantly, right? Major companies, they're adopting Azure and organizing, shifting to Azure. So already they are utilizing it regularly. They are in need of professionals, right? Who can work on this Azure and handle this big data, huge data, right? Even if you talk about the pay scales, right? The top two high paying jobs, right? Data scientists and data engineers, they've got the highest average salary, right? Azure data engineers also has got the highest salary as closely as data scientists. Okay. Even if you talk about many companies like Facebook, Intel, Microsoft, Amazon, everyone, they're hiring data engineers, right, with great salary packages. Even like tech giants, including Google, Apple, Cognizant, Walmart, all this, they are offering high paying jobs for this Azure data engineers, right? So in the same way, you need to show your skills, right? So that's what it's a total practical exposure, right? There's nothing theory in it. So for the first 2 3 days, like we'll be discussing, right? But later on, there won't be everything will be practical. So learn the subject practically, right? Fine. Fine. Tomorrow also you can attend the session, same timing at 6 o'clock using the same link, right? Yes. Okay. We'll be continuing from where we all stopped, right? Any other queries from your side? Anyone, right? Yes.
No, sir, we are good. Thank you so much for giving
Oh.
opportunity.
Fine, right? Yes, the time is one question was asked. Total duration of this course around 3 months it takes. And timings will be this 6 o'clock, 6 to 7 it will be, right? Yes. Anybody, freshers experience, anybody can learn this course? Yes. Clear notes and materials in depth it will be provided to you. Yes. So you can see a big message is given by the online team about the course content details, their contact details, and the payment details also they are provided in the chart. You can check with those details, right? A big message at the starting of the session, right? Okay, fine. So if I'm done with your queries, if there are no other queries, I'm signing off for now. Thank you all for your time. Thank you. Meet you tomorrow.
Thank